LBBC Toyota for Michael Waltrip Racing. And Clint, maybe just talk about the race out there today. Certainly a lot of intensity out there. You were right up front, running for the win. And what was your perspective and what was your take on today's race here at Talladega?
Well, my game plan worked. You know, it's so hard to strategize around this. I mean, you can a little bit, but you still gotta, you know, bob and weave and take it as it comes. You know, I kind of usually have a lap for a rule of thumb that I try to go by. It's not much fun riding around there in the back. You kind of got to wake yourself up there and get back in the action. But, you know, it's what you got to do. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to throw a Hail Mary at one point or another to put yourself in contention to win at these restrictor plate tracks. And it's like I always said, if I'm going to throw a Hail Mary, I'd just soon throw one of them. I don't want to get intercepted, you know, any more than I have to. So there was a point in the race there where they were 3 wide ahead of me. I was kind of in a pocket where I wanted to be, where I felt it was safe. And they got jumbled up and about wrecked. And I thought that was my opportunity a little bit sooner than I wanted to go. But that was a good opportunity. I went from about 25th and drove up what was going to be 3rd, and that caution came out when we were all on pit road. But just like I said, it's a fun, unbelievable experience. Hard to explain, you know, what happens. It goes through your mind those last, you know, 10 laps or so, especially, what was it, 9 laps there with the green, white checkers. Was in contention. I was in the spot I wanted to be in that next to last run in the middle. Really did think that I was going to have a true shot at the win, and then, you know, the caution come out and got me on the bottom. But still, 3rd place is a good day for us.
Questions for Clint Bowyer, Don, and then Ed. Get a mic there to Don and then Ed, please.
Clint, Don Coble with the Florida Times Union. In your racing days, you've probably seen a lot of strange things. But to see Matt Kenseth push Brad to the win on the final lap, could you have imagined that could have happened, especially with what happened last week?
Yeah, I can. If he could have flipped him to win the race, he probably would have. But you know, that's me being a smart ass, though. That's just competition. You know, Matt needed to push the 2 to get his best position and get himself in an overall shot to win that race. It doesn't matter if it's your worst enemy out there or you know, your best friend, you know, your closest friend as far as racers go. But you've got to use them, you know, and he was using the 2 car as much as the 2 car was using him at that point.
Go ahead, Ed.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Clint, I doubt very seriously you had time to watch what I'm about to ask, but if you had time, could you sort of be the play-by-play man on what went on between the 2, the 31, and the 20 coming up to push him after? Were you able to see much of that, and can you describe?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You all get locked together. We did that next to last restart. We were really locked together. Both lanes seemed like, you know, 4 or 5 deep. They were just bumper to bumper and pretty much locked on the track. The last one we were jumbled up pretty bad, so that leaves, you know, margin for people to get runs and pushes and harder bumps and things like that to catapult you in a position or not. That being said, you know, I was having to, it forces your hand to protect and try to figure out ultimately coming off the 2 what lane you want to be in. And in my mind, I didn't want to be on that outside lane. I either wanted to be on the bottom or the middle. And right off the bat, I realized that the middle wasn't going to be an option because they were already there and tight down on our door. So, you know, it was left to be on the bottom, pushing Matt. Do you realize you pushed Brad Keselowski to the win? Karma's a bitch, isn't it?
I was hoping to spin him out. I'm just kidding.
I already told him. I said if he could have flipped him to win, he probably would have.
Any additional questions for Clint? Back in the back, Tim.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. Clint, this is Tim Despain with Pit Stop Radio. What's your take on the new chase scenario NASCAR has come out with now, and do you think they need to tweak it any for next year?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the biggest thing, you know, who am I to say what changed their way? It was great excitement, and what a wild racetrack to come down for that last run. I think they really did nail it there. what a nerve-wracking race to be in and then be out. I mean, look at Jimmy Johnson. I mean, he had a legit shot at winning the race, and then the 41 and I kind of squeezed him out of the middle. The only thing I don't really necessarily like is the win and you're into the next round. I'm fine with the win and you're into the chase. I think that's acceptable and fair. But in my opinion, watching these guys win, and then just be able to like come to a Talladega and not have anything on the line like these other guys, I think it's somewhat bogus, because 10 races is not many opportunities to capitalize and win a championship. I mean, I look at other sports, you don't have to, there's no bye weekends in a football playoff system or anything else, and in my opinion, it sets up a couple races to have a couple bye weekends. I don't necessarily like that.
Any other questions for Clint Bowyer? Anybody in the press box have a question for Clint Bowyer? We're good upstairs, Clint.
Good job.
Thank you, bud.
Good race here today, and good luck to the Royals.
Yes.
Okay, before we start with our third-place finisher, Matt Kenseth, I just want to make sure everybody has the 8 drivers that advance to the eliminator round. Their points are reset to 4,000. Those drivers are Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, Denny Hamlin, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski. Those are the drivers that will advance to the eliminator round. Our third-place finisher in today's race is Matt Kenseth. He drives the number 20 Home Depot Toyota.
Hey,
For
finish second, man. Don't short me.
my goodness gracious, what am I thinking here? You finished second. I knew that. I have it written down. I apologize.
I was like 19th last week. I need all the credit I can get right now. Okay?
Matt Kenseth is our race runner-up for today's 46th annual Geico 500. Drives the number 20 Home Depot Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Matt, congratulations on advancing to the next round, and maybe just talk about this race out there. Just from our vantage point, it was as intense as I can remember here at Talladega.
Yeah, it was different than any Talladega race for me. So with the engine change, we started in the back, so we kind of just hung out there waiting for the big wreck, and there was a bunch of small ones and never a big one. So one time middle race to try to get up front, I just didn't feel like I had enough strength to hang in the top 5 or 6 where I felt like was safe. And once we got shuffled back far enough, we just tried to be as close as we could to the pack for that last pit stop, and I knew Jason and the Home Depot guys were going to have a good strategy, great stop. We weren't there very long. We gained a chunk of the track position back, and then the caution fell when we were leaving pit road and gained the rest. So that put us up, I think, in 12th or something. Had a couple good restarts at that and kind of in the right place at the right time, and got a good finish.
Questions for our race runner-up, Matt Kenseth? Raise your hand if you have one. Jenna has the first one right over here to the right. And then Ed.
Jennifer, AP. Matt, did you think or believe it that you would make it to the eliminator round, considering where JGR was at this stage? And then I have a second question.
I mean, you hope so. I really didn't know. I mean, we haven't ran well the last couple weeks. The first round we ran okay. Last couple weeks we haven't ran well, and then obviously we had all those problems last week when we got wrecked and all that kind of stuff. So, I knew we had our work cut out for us, but there were some other guys that didn't have particularly good luck as well, that were behind. So you never know what's going to happen here. It's one of those places I feel like, you could win just as easily as you could finish 35th. So I didn't really give you a really good answer, but I didn't know. I mean, I feel like my team is more than capable, but our performance certainly hasn't been, as good as the top, 3 or 4 guys. So it's nice to have our points back, and hopefully we can go next week and run away we know we're capable of.
So you take the white flag. At what point do you realize that the 2 is in front of you, and what is your strategy there? Because he's not your favorite person right now.
Well, I mean, when it comes down to the end of the race at Talladega, it's not like you can be like, all right, I'm going to do this. I mean, you kind of got to do what's going to be best, for your best finish. And, Kevin had a really good run. I pushed Kevin really hard. I just didn't feel like I had a ton of speed. And when Kevin went up to go 3 wide and then Brad went to chase him, I couldn't really follow Kevin and be stuck out 3 wide. I figured 3 or 4 guys would get by me. So not knowing the exact points and knowing we got to finish in front of the 5, especially if the 2-1, I knew my path to the best finish was probably going to be to run to the bottom there. And Landon gave me a really big push off of 2. If it would have been a little farther down the straightaway, I think I would have had enough speed to actually get under Brad and might have had a shot for the win. But he went all the way across track and just had enough room to get down in front of me. So like I said, that's where I felt like I had to put my car for my best chance at the best finish. So all those guys were pretty quick up there, got a good restart and got a good run, and it's just how it turned out.
Other questions for Matt? Ed, go ahead.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Matt, for a little more detail, could you sort of give us a play-by-play of where you realized you were pushing the 2 and kind of carry us on through that, pushed him out front? And also, did it even flash through your mind for an instant that it was him and what went on last week?
Well, I mean, you know who's driving every car. I mean, you know who's leading the race, and I saw Kevin get a run on him, and, I was planning on pushing Kevin the whole time, but my car, the way I was, I needed to be either in the middle or the bottom was my second choice, and the third group was my last choice. I just didn't have enough speed to get around there, and I was going to get freight trained. So it's not so much as like, hey, I'm going to help that guy, and I'm going to go shaft that guy. You're like, all right, I'm going to, I was planning on staying with Kevin the whole time until he made the move 3 wide for the lead, and I saw Brad do a very aggressive block. And if I went up there, I was just going to lose spots. So that was where I made a decision to get back in the bottom. So it's not, it doesn't really necessarily work out like that. Everything happens really, really fast. You know who everybody is and where they're at, but you're trying to do everything you can to get your best finish. And actually, it opened up there, and I thought we were going to have a shot to win the race, and I just didn't get around the bottom groove quick enough to get all the way back under Brad. So there's a lot that happens in 2 laps. I actually couldn't tell you everything that happened in those 2 laps, even from my seat. I mean, there's just so much that happens so fast, and you're trying to manage your momentum and listen to your car and watch everybody around you, and try to make the best moves you can.
Let's go to Nate behind the
Nate
cameras.
Ryan. Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Matt, with less than 30 laps to go, you were 32nd. Was there any point at which you felt like maybe you guys had waited too long to make your move? And does everything breaking your way, it seemed like in the last 15 laps, does that kind of make up for everything not going your way, it seems like, so far this season?
I don't know. Maybe if it would have won, I'd say yes, but I don't know. I've never done that strategy before, and I hate it. It's just not in my DNA to not go up and race as hard as you can. So I kept asking Jason, and he just kept telling me to hang out. So when he told me it was 5 laps to the pit stop, me and Denny ran pretty hard to get to the back of the pack because I figured that our transitions with pit road and our pit stop and all that, we were going to gain at least 10 spots and kind of put us back in there. But I was thoroughly convinced there was still going to be another wreck. So it's hard to say. You could wait and not be a wreck and finish 30th and be out of the thing too. So it's kind of what we talked about today. We didn't want to go in there and get wrecked. And like I said, earlier in the race, I was sick of it. So I drove up toward the front as far as I could, and I think I got up to like 5th or 6th on the outside, and we're doing pretty good. And I just didn't have the speed to hang there. The inside lane, they'd pass me, 1 row of cars every lap. And I got back to about 14th or 15th, and I was just like, man, I can't. I'm going to the back anyway. I might as well find somewhere safe for a little while.
Any additional questions for Matt? Anybody in the press box? Questions for Matt?